Satnam, offering a general reading. As always, take what resonates with you and dismiss the rest. Today I am getting 3 images and I'll go into what I'm getting from those. I'll speak to 2 of them though, and also have a few cards out, including the Bob Ross playing card deck. So a little look at art history. And if you know art history, if you know these works, if you know these artists, you might be able to get more than I have. And these are not the only amazing artists and artworks out there worth discussing. They're giving me 3 images. And first thing, Duchamp's urinal, or it was titled Fountain. So it was a urinal put in as art, signed and owned. And it was a game changer in what we believed art to be at that time. So thinking a few things, like what are you doing now that can be a game changer in your life or someone else's? Maybe you are inspiring a movement, whether it's kindness, a warm hug, a thank you, and I love you, that just starts this blossoming effect of something new out in the world. And if we look across art history, there was that one leader of the pack that just changed and brought forth a new art form, and together as a collective unit, as a subculture, they birthed a new form of art, a new way of expression, a new way of being, a new way of seeing. We can also look at Duchamp's Fountain as part of being human. So like a urinal, that's part of waste. It's what we decide is no good. Now think of that too as our shadow aspect. Sometimes we want to shudder at the shadow, right? We don't want to look at that darkness, or we want to cast it aside, or we want to shame it. How can you rebirth it to express yourself, either to yourself within, or that vulnerability to the world, or vulnerability to another human to deepen a connection? So Duchamp's Fountain, I wrote it down in 1917. So thinking again, body waste, and transforming what we thought was waste to something that is beautiful and worth seeing. And the beautiful part of art and experiencing art or creating art is perspective, that you can stand there in that moment and see another perspective. And as someone who's created art, there really is no control over how someone else perceives that creative expression. You might have that intention of how you want to convey a certain idea, or the way that you're merging concepts, or the way you're expressing yourself, but really where society takes it, where another human being, where a critic takes it, you have no control over. It's just owning who you are. And that's why I think this next piece of art makes so much difference, is Robert Maplethorpe's self-portrait. Like, he owns who he is in this self-portrait. He owns his right to creative expression. He owns who he is in this image. So what image am I talking about? It is a man with a bullwhip where the sun doesn't shine, and part of the bullwhip in his hand, and he's looking back. He's looking back in ownership. So if we think about the gaze, we think about the eyes as someone who's a model, as someone who is an artist, looking back at the camera is ownership. It is ownership. It's not shying away. And he's holding the bullwhip as a way to show that he's in charge. He's owning, he's taking leadership of how he chooses to express himself as a human, express himself as an artist, a photographer, his sexuality, his way of being. It's all owned, and he's got a solid stance. His feet are solid, and he's looking back, owning who he chooses to be in that moment, and how he's expressing himself to the world. Whether you appreciate flowers or foreskin, if you look at his artwork, it's incredible. If you're looking at his way of working with the medium of black and white photography, looking at light, the human skin as a landscape, the lighting is incredible. His way of capturing light and dark, and essence, a moment, movement with photography is incredible. And why I spoke to like the bullwhip in hand is important, because he's owning it. But if we look back in history, at the time he was producing art, creating, there would be like this like cord thing that you'd like screw into the top of your camera that you would originally push the button. But it would be this cord, so you'd be like on the end of it. So that would be kind of holding it to take the picture. I hope that came out right, but that you have to kind of look back in history to unravel even more deeper meaning in the images that he put forth. And again, you don't have to appreciate every image, but appreciate the fact, I really appreciate the fact that he owns who he is on multiple levels. And artistically, it's done beautifully if you look up all of his art. So those are a couple images I was getting, worth exploring, I think. And again, there could be more in art history that captures your attention than I've shared, but this is what they're giving me. And to be honest, the hum of the projector in art history class was more of a lullaby than an inspiration to memorize facts and dates, time periods, and the like. I got through it though. So starting with the Soul Tarot, also had the Frida Kahlo deck out and the Bob Ross deck. So how are you expressing yourself, and how are you taking ownership and creating some sense of freedom for who you are, both light and dark, internal, external, expression. And it might not be photography for you, it might be a brush and paintbrush and canvas. It might be a way that you speak to human beings. It might be the way that you write, it might be the way that you sing, it might be the way that you manage a team to put forth a program. There's so many beautiful ways that you can express yourself and lead with heart and make a change. And that's needed. It's really needed. Last time. Maybe it's not waste. Maybe it's about transforming and creating something beautiful about what felt like something that needed to be cast aside, or what felt like waste, you know? Let's see. We have the Queen of Pentacles, so creating, nurturing, and the World, a completion of a cycle. So letting something go to rest, but transforming it and nurturing it in the material world. Let's look at the bottom deck energy. Hangman, at a crossroads. So you can create something, create abundance, right? With this insight that you have, with the beautiful gifts you have, the stories that you've experienced. And that's how you can let it come to completion, by transforming it, by sharing it, by leading, by being, by allowing yourself to be seen, heard, and felt, because perhaps it's needed. Or you can continue to let the cycles play out. It's your choice. It's your choice. If you were at a crossroads to go right or left, think good or bad, think yin or yang, masculine, feminine, anywhere in between, gay, straight, anywhere in between, do, don't, give, take, yes, no. I don't know why all this is coming up. You can drive yourself batty going back and forth. I guess I'm seeing the Cheshire Cat now. Okay. And I think of the Hangman energy, that 7 energy. I think I put that in my deck as the Cheshire Cat. And you can let your brain play tricks on you. Maybe think about it, like, okay, so Robert Maplethorpe had all this artwork. There's more than that one photograph, right? Duchamp had more than just the fountain. There's more than that, and there's more artists. If you think about like a Facebook post, yeah, it goes, everyone gets excited for a minute and then the next one goes. Like, it's a moment in time. Nothing to hold on to. No 4 of Pentacles. It's about like, I'm seeing like a bird in hand, doves just flying. Like you release it out into the world and let it be. And if it calls from your heart and you have that intention, then roll with it. Roll with it, sister. I'm not gonna say sister. Sorry if you're a brother. Sorry if you're in between. Man, I try not to say sorry. So everyone knows me. Sometimes I'll be like, thank you for your patience. It's because I had a friend that she'd yell at me. She'd be like, stop apologizing so much. Love her. All right, Three of Pentacles. What are you bringing into the material? What are you manifesting? What are you honing? What skill sets really need to be honed? How can you fine tune your craft? Because it's needed. Bottom deck energy is the Nine of Clubs. Think of wounded warrior, but the wounds, they break us open. The wounds don't need to hold us back. They don't need to hold us captive. There doesn't need to be this fear. There can be a rebirth. There can be a new pattern. There can be a new way of seeing. There's something you've learned from your trauma that someone else can now see themselves in a new light and know where to go. There's somewhere in your addictive patterns that once held you captive, and you found your way out of that cycle, that someone else can now get clean and sober. Maybe there is this passion project someone else really wants to put out in the world, but they don't know how to do it, but you're the mentor that can make it happen. Perhaps you're writing that book, writing that new script that helps someone see things in a new life, and that just, I'm seeing a web, a spider web, like it just takes off from there, that pay it forward energy. All right, I feel like I need to speak to this. If you know the work of Frida Kahlo and you know her story, you might know more than I do. But noticing where the passion is, that passion might come, and it can also, think about how sometimes our passion, like our kryptonite and passion are like, it's almost like a double-edged sword. So like Aries energy, like that fire, that ball of fire, it can get me into trouble, but it can also create things. So this idea of balance, but noticing your passion, but also noticing what kind of pulls you back. And sometimes it's almost like, I feel like in the Buddhist culture, they talk about like the suffering and that duality is like breaking free of it into this interconnective, into this web. But it's almost like that suffering, those relationships, there's some relationships that break us open. There's some patterns, there's some passions that really just like unleash a fire. And I feel like that rings true for these two. Diego. I don't know, you might have more than I do for that. And the work here on the Nine of Clubs is titled Living Nature. So living what's natural for you and trusting that the fruits of your labor, like you are planting seeds by nurturing yourself. Like fruit can nurture us, but cutting open, breaking free, that kind of energy. That rhymed. And it's almost like there's the sun and the sky in the background. I'm sure with this still life setup that might have been fabric. I don't know if it's a still life or not. Again, I don't know all her works. And this self-portrait here also has, oh wow, okay, I didn't see this before. Speaking of the two, so if you see here in her third eye, she's got Diego. So Diego's always on her mind. And what do we always want? We want love, right? We want to be connected. We want to be felt. We want to be heard. But that passion and that on her mind, how that drove her both mad and open. They seem to have a tumultuous relationship. There's a lot of growing pains, it seems, in their relationship. And such is life, right? Ooh, some of it is just not as pretty as others. The flowers in her hair. But notice how it also like stems out, like her headdress out. It's like every thought out into the universe. What's on the forefront of your mind? Like what's leading your third eye? Like what is your filter and your lens? Is it another human being? Is it a connection? Like is it clear? And what are you putting out? And sometimes those moments of madness are magical, right? And shouldn't be shamed. Like the Jackson Pollock energy of just diving into art. I've been up at weird hours of the night painting when I allow it to flow. Let's see. Is that a potato? I don't know. Let's see, fruit. But there's also some roots. So if we think of the Nine of Wands energy, that there are some roots. So we were planted where we were planted. Think about, I'm seeing a daisy, just not a daisy, a dandelion, excuse me, dandelion growing through the cracks. Like it's actually right down the street, the post office. When I take my walks. It's like we'll grow where we're planted. It's like dealing with the hands that you're dealt, not with shame, guilt, or anger, but rather, okay, this is what I'm working with. I'm gonna own it and I'm gonna keep going. And maybe it's about you also getting rooted in order to have clarity, to send the energy. So if we think about the chakra system, like from the roots up to the third eye, the crown. So making sure that your energy is balanced and feeling all your energies when you are in that moment of crossroads, to know how to nurture yourself in the material, how to make that decision to complete a cycle, or if a cycle is still turning. And that, all those love language, attachments, and all that stuff that happens in a relationship, like that might be time to reevaluate how you're seeing either the past or how you're functioning in the present with another. And the Queen of Pentacles, she holds space. She holds space for fertile grounds. Not quite the Empress, but she definitely has movement on the board to make choices. Make choices to complete cycle or continue. So do that check-in a moment. Do that check-in of what's on your mind. What's on your mind? Are you rooted with purpose? Are your roots holding you back? Are you standing firm on solid ground? Are you going to transform and rebirth and allow yourself to blossom? Are you going to allow your wings to open up? You're going to open up, or are you going to stay still? Are you going to repeat, or are you going to complete? And you can continue to work through it, like, until you get it, and that's okay. You know, you keep working with it. Happy trees and all those good things. Got the Bob Ross card in hand. Cards in hand. So there is no shame, there is no guilt. Like, can you imagine a world without that? Like, what would you do if you weren't holding on to shame? What would you do if you weren't afraid to be? What would you do if you weren't afraid to make that phone call? What would you do if you weren't afraid to like, put yourself out there in some way? Like, really, what calls to your heart? Got two? Oh, I was thinking squirrel, so it's good. 10 of Wands, so burdens, 10 of clubs, so your burden's transformed. Do you need to clean it up? Is it picked up? Do you need to repackage it? This would be a good place for my little squirrel to live. So where do you want to live? Like, what makes you happy? What makes you feel safe? What makes you feel grounded? What makes you feel alive? It's time to build from that standpoint. Next two. 9 of Spades, so thinking fear energy, what holds you back, and how can you transform that into freedom? You have to allow the paint to break to make it beautiful. And ain't that the truth? I have trouble sometimes allowing the paint to be the paint, somehow looking imperfection. Like when I'm like real close to the painting, like I'm like blurring lines and blending the oil paint. But if I step back, I lose the image. Like you have to balance that fine point, or I do, excuse me, looking back, and have to feel into the fear to see what purpose it's serving. That fear at one point might have done you good. Like being afraid sometimes it's normal, right? But if you find yourself in a bad dream, if you find yourself at this crossroads, this standstill of where do I go next, pause. Where are you? How are you feeling? How's your body speaking to you? Do you feel rooted? Do you feel grounded? Is your past holding you back? Is it a story? Is it a memory that you're just continuing to cycle through? I've done that, still working through it, right? The story is, I speak of them as like those lies you were told. Like, why did I believe those put downs? Why did I believe those manipulations? Well, it's time to dismember that framework. It's time to see past it. And I believe, in order to move past the fear, it's not only like, do you have to look at all those gross moments? And I say gross, I don't have another word for it, but like there's memories I visually and embody in an embodied way I don't want to return to. I'm not gonna lie. I don't want to visit things, not everything in my past. That's traumatic. That could be re-traumatizing. I'm not asking to look back on everything. But what I'm asking for is a new lens cap, a new painting, a new portrait of you, and find out why that fear is holding you back. What purpose does that fear serve? What purpose does that pattern hold? And it might have been a good coping mechanism at one time, but does it serve now? Is your pattern hindering you, or can you find a new way to look at this moment and look at yourself with clarity? Next is beautiful, 6 of Diamonds. Just go out and talk to a tree, make friends. Go make some friends. So Joan of Arc, didn't she like have her moment of awakening talking with a tree, right? And that sense of reciprocity with spirit, like having gratitude for what you have brings forth more. Being angry about what isn't or what happened just stalemates, or at least that's how I've experienced it. So how can you find reciprocity in the moment? Where's the diamond in the rough? Where's that gem? You are that gem. You are that diamond. And where are other starseeds or diamonds or gems out there to support you on your path? They are out there. Not everyone's jealous and manipulative. There are beautiful light workers out there and human beings ready to support you on your path and to connect wholeheartedly. And what is coming back to you? So when you have that passion project, when you have that spark of creative expression, however that is for you, that thing that you do that makes you uniquely you and wonderful, and we all have that, where do you find that balance point where you are not spinning wheels, but rather your energy is coming back to you, where it's the wheels are turning, like there's forward movement, there's the chariot, there's flow, the river flows, rather than there's some sort of like rock in the road. I don't know why they're saying rock in the road. Like I'm seeing the C&O Canal. You're gonna be careful in that canal, like because the road is like dusty. I feel like you can fall out, right? Versus, I'm trying to see where they're going with that, because now my brain is just going through memories of biking, and I'm not going to send you down I send you down enough of my memory lanes, then go over bike accidents and then some. Oh, that's it. Okay, that's what they want. Is I did have a bike accident on a road bike, and my butt hit first, or my tailbone, and the second was my helmet. Fortunately, I was wearing a helmet. My helmet literally split open into 2 pieces like an eggshell. Like you crack an egg and there's 2 whole pieces. That was my helmet, but that was only the second thing that hit. But I tell you what, my family did a trip on the C&O Canal, and I was on the sag wagon team, not only because I was like, it hurts and it's cold outside, but because I was scared. So I picked sag wagon, and sometimes you gotta like pick another role on the team and in the family until you're ready to get back out there. But I think eventually I'm gonna have to get back on a bike. What do you think? Maybe that fits. Well, I do hope this served well. Oh, okay, one more. This is next bottom deck energy. I had to share this. 4 of Clubs is like, to me, the 4 is your stability, but the 4 of Wands, 4 of Clubs is like, it's your commitment card. It's like energetically committing. So like if you're sitting in meditation and you're sending out to spirit what you want. Like, this is that energy. Like, yeah, I'm here, I'm ready. And it's not like talking to everybody, hey, guess what I'm doing? Not that you can't share, but it's more of like your truth, your power, your empress, emperor mode of knowing who you are, and that commitment you have with your guides, the powers that be, to do what you are supposed to do, and being strong and rooted with that connection. And it says, whatever makes you happy, put it in your world. So what do you need to clean out that doesn't make you happy? Set some boundaries, set some limits. I'm still learning that one too. Clean house, clean out the clutter, and then start inviting energetically and on other levels what it is you want. What do you want? And the world probably needs more of what you've got, more of your light, and more of that spark of inspiration that you have. Beautiful. Thank you so much for listening. Again, take what resonates and dismiss the rest.